The following is a conversation with Paola Vicencio Hernandez. She's a software engineer at Microsoft. She worked at Oracle before joining Microsoft. In this episode, she shares her tips into how someone could get into programming, what are the best ways to maximize your chances for getting a tech job, and what's it like having a career in tech. Towards the end, we also chat about some horror and scary stories, so hope you guys tune in for that as well, and hope you guys enjoy this episode. So welcome, Paula. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Oh, okay. So I guess everybody, you guys know about Paula. Paula, can you tell us what do you do at Microsoft? Like what your day-to-day is like? Like just a quick overview.
Okay, so I work for a product that is called Rooms in Microsoft. It's to have like some meetings, and the good thing about Rooms and the difference between everything else, it's that it's stronger on security. And yeah, on my day-to-day life, I do backend deployment, and yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, yeah. Well, actually, you know what? Before that, I should do in honor of because you're working out of Mexico. We'll have some specific questions about that as well because you work remotely out of a team based here in Canada and with other people. So yeah, I for that I should do a Spanish intro, which I've been practicing a little bit. So
Sure,
here,
go
okay.
for it.
Hola a todos, bienvenidos a mi podcast. Mi acampiana un invitado especial es la única Paula de Microsoft. How's that? I just Google translated it, but okay, how is that?
That's okay.
So,
That's okay. That's
yeah.
okay. Yeah. I don't know how to follow here. Do you want me to follow it in Spanish or do I need to follow it in English?
You can do it in Spanish. Sure.
Okay. Hola, yo soy Paola Vicencio, trabajo en Microsoft, trabajo remotamente. Casi todo mi equipo, más bien todo mi equipo está en Canadá. Entonces, eso es lo que hago. Um, and yeah, that's what I do. And I don't know how else to follow.
Perfect. No, that's totally good. Well, I guess talk to me about your experience. What's it like working out of Mexico? Like working remotely? Like what's
Oh,
that
it's
like?
It was, I think it's every experience is different from people to people. But for me, how I can talk about it, it started a little bit hard because just I started on the pandemic, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. When you start a new job in a pandemic, it's like you're gonna come to the office and just get your stuff and everything, just because people is like getting it was getting closed and you have to deal with your own, so set up your laptop, get everything on your home. And for me that was a starting point. I think now it's better, now that we are all closed, all open, I'm sorry. And then I think it's better, and not just only for me, it's for people that we got into process on how to make remote work easy for people. So I think right now, like for example, Microsoft just gets you your computer faster, everything that you need faster. Because before of that, I think the world was completely different, and we were all supposed to see people, and you have to have someone to talk to you, to come with you. So it kind of changed, I think, but not. I think change for good, because there's like new opportunities for different kind of people from different backgrounds. So I think it's a good stuff.
I see, yeah. And then talk to me about a bit of your journey, how you got into tech. Because before Microsoft, you worked at Oracle. So just walk me through like what made you interested into like programming and like how did you get started here?
Okay, so yeah, so I am a little bit older than Muhammad. So when I was like a kid, and in Mexico, there was like um when I was like 6 years old, I was telling my parents that I wanted to like put my fingers on some keyboard, and they were like, huh? And they didn't know anything about computers or something until we were like driving to some places, and I was like, I want one of those, and I was just pointing to a computer, and my dad's like, why did you try to do that, right? So then I started computer courses when I was 6, and then I continued to doing that. Then at the age of 9, I started is doing design by computer, and then doing database by computer. And I was the only child in that point. And my dad didn't follow why I was so into computers and everything. So that's how it started. And yeah, so how I continue, it's that I when the time came to go for the university, I decided that I was going to for computer science. And I went for computer science in my hometown, which is Querétaro in Mexico. And yeah, and then there was like some recruiter that came, and there was like this giant like room full of people. And I was really good at databases. My teachers thought that I was really, really good at databases, and he recommends me for Oracle, and as well to take the exam. But there was this giant room, and there were like 200 people, and they give us an exam. And I was like doing my exam, and then some of the persons from Oracle just came into me like, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "Good." I just writing my exam, right? And he was like, "Oh, I hope that you are good because your teacher says that you're good." And I was like, "Huh?" And then I passed the exam and I entered to Oracle. And yeah, and then I started working at Oracle. First, I started as a programmer analyst, and then I work, which is a little bit like DevOps. And then I started like going forward, and I really like the backend. I am not really good at the front end. So I decided to continue on the backend, and then I moved it into do payroll, the product development for payroll. And then I moved into Microsoft just because I wanted to try something new, and all the excitement and all the good things that happen in Microsoft. Good things that happen in Microsoft is that things are moving really fast and you don't get bored every time you're learning something new. And at some point, I decided that in my old development career, I was like getting a little bit bored, but now I get so excited. There's too much things to learn.
Yeah. Well, so talking about the scope of tech in Mexico, so is it mainly people go for these internationally renowned companies like Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, or are there any like Mexican-based companies as well that are really big?
Well, there's Mexican companies that are big, like that unicorns companies. But the thing is that with Mexico, I have to say, there is a lot of good engineers in Mexico as well, coming from public schools and everything. Really good. I can say that they are really, really good. But the bad thing in Mexico, it's the language. There is a lot of people that are pretty, pretty good, but they don't speak English. And it's kind of like, it's a shame that we are losing so many good talents just because they don't put so much effort into learn English.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's a
And
speaking majority. Yeah.
yeah, actually there's a lot of, and there's like not enough there's not enough publicity to tell people that they need to learn English. And because think about it, think about any other person who are, it's not like I cannot, if I didn't speak English, how could I communicate it with customers or globally? That's something, and I think that's something that people needs to know in all over the other places that they don't speak. They speak other language. They need to do the effort to be um, bilingual and talk English.
Yeah. So how is the Mexican school system like the university and stuff? Because like for example, with me growing up in Pakistan, we had like English classes and then half were like Urdu, or some were in Urdu, which is like Pakistan's native language. So what
Oh.
is it like all Spanish in Mexico?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Like for public schools, we have private schools which are really good. They start like teaching you English since you are a kid. But for public schools, well, at least when I was studying, which is like 12 years ago, but I think it's the same stuff because I have some friends, and I when I was at Oracle, I interviewed a lot of people. And the bad thing is that they didn't speak they didn't speak English. Sorry. So the bad thing is that you don't get to. They give you the class, but it's just like the verbs and small things like how to say your name, how to say your age, and how to say hi to someone, but not as good as it could be.
I see. Yeah. And so what's so what's the scope with Oracle, like the company that you worked in? Was it also like a remote type system, a hybrid system, or were you working like within the Mexican chapter of Oracle?
Actually, here in Mexico, in the place where I live, which is Guadalajara, they have the Mexican Development Center. So they're moving all the developments, at least for the database and a lot for the ERP. They are moving that into Mexico. And like I say, we have really great engineers, but even if you are located and if you have a company that is located here in Mexico, you need to speak English.
I see. Yeah. And what was your work at Oracle? Like, talk to me a bit about your experience there. Like, what were some of the things that you were working on in specific?
Well, so first I was DevOps engineer for payroll, which it's a combination between, we used to have enterprise and then for the e-business suite, which is an ERP. And what I was really strong was PL SQL and doing databases, all of them. You can think about the ERP for Oracle is like a really, really PL SQL code. Like everything is based on databases and everything. So I managed to make myself really, really good at knowing databases and data analytics, reports, everything. I was at some point I was doing support and I was able to find an issue just by seeing the data, and which is really good. If you are at that analysis, you can see that that's a really good skill to have. Yeah, and then I decided that I wanted to move into development. So I started. I work in the product development of payroll. In the meantime, I work in different kind of like modules, which are like general ledger, and I learned a little bit about finances, but a little bit, not that much.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, during that transition from Oracle to Microsoft, what were some of the things that like really stuck out to you? Because both, I mean, pretty big companies. I think Microsoft, I think, is like way bigger. But what were some of the things that stuck out?
Well, first and everything, it's that I wanted to try something new. I wanted to learn stuff, new stuff, and I saw that Microsoft was really into creating some new teams from scratch. And my job in Microsoft is like I work for a big company, but I work for a big company as I was like with the support of a big company, the security of a big company, but I do the work like we were in a startup, right? Like I can see, I can put my words from the architecture to the stack that we are using, and maybe for proof of concept. And you always have like these opportunities to get hackathons and everything. So I get to know that from people that were working with me that moved to Microsoft, and they were like, oh, this is amazing, you should come and everything. And I was really, really interested on that. So the good thing is that Oracle, it's really big and the code is really, really big. I have to say that it's not something that you can just like create by just one small team. It's a code that has been created for ages now, and it's really hard to maintain, and it's really hard to do something different there. And what I wanted is to have something a little bit smaller, like just starting from the stack trace, have some ideas on the architecture, and at least I can grow as an engineer in that part.
I see. Yeah. And so at Microsoft, what are some of the, so at Microsoft, what was the main, well, right now, so you work on backend with rooms on the room service. Were there any opportunities or ways that you perhaps got into front end? Because like with Oracle as well, I think you mentioned you were like on the database, the ERP side.
Yeah. So there were opportunities for me to be on the front end in Oracle, but it's just small teams, and I didn't want to go in there. And then in Oracle, I always wasn't the backend, but in Microsoft, there's a good things that they have. Like for example, we have changed. Microsoft has changed a lot, and I have changed from teams from one to another. And there was like this place where we were trying to show something like kind of do spiritual events, and I was able to like work a little bit with the front end and get my hands on that, and it's really nice because you can get like in the last 2 years, 3 years that I have been in Microsoft, I have worked with .NET, I have worked with JavaScript, I have worked with Python, I have worked a little bit with iOS, and as well with Java. And before that, I just knew Java. So it's really nice.
Mhm. And what would be some of your, because obviously you've done like so many programming languages, worked at Oracle, now at Microsoft. I guess we'll go into like some general advices for people. What would be your general advice for people who want to get started into programming? Like, is there one programming language that they should start with, or what do you think
Uh,
is the best way now that you have all this experience?
I think as long as you feel comfortable with just one, you don't need to tackle all of them at the same time. Um, Please be sure because this career is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And when they say you are a computer science engineer, it can be a lot of stuff. It can mean that you can like fix something in a computer, or that you can do network uh, fixings, or have something to do with network. And as well, you can be on the back end, you can be a designer, you can be on the front end. And first, decide what you want to do. And then stick on that. You can be a data science as well. So first stick on that, have a lot of experience on that. I could say that maybe try to use some of the biggest languages that you like it to do. If you like to see some of like working really fast and like just create something, go for web maybe. And if you want to see like something that is just changing because you are changing buttons and everything, we always need someone to do that. But if you are get you don't mind how it looks and you just want to see it work, just pick a backend language. But I cannot say that, oh, this is the language that you need to pick. It depends on the person.
I see, yeah. And then what about, so that's the language part. What about the approach to programming? So like the way I visualize it in my head, there's like two ways you can do it. One is like the traditional way, like people who haven't programmed, they start university, learn about like the fundamentals, so like your data structures, algebra, like I don't know, algebra and stuff like the computer science fundamentals, like Turing machines and all sorts of that. And then there's the other side, like in my head, which I think they're like the people who learned about a framework and then they learn the fundamental, like the overall fundamental. That's me, for example. Like I just
Mhm.
started with making websites. I had
Yeah,
no idea about like computer science theory, all the math behind it, like big O, like all this stuff.
yeah,
That came later. So what would you think is the best way? And I think you did the opposite way, right? So you
yeah,
went to university and that's where you started.
yeah. Well, I think well, there's pros and cons in both ways, right? But I think if you can get a like mix of things, if you want to learn a little bit like, for example, let's say Java, you are just focusing on Java, right? So you can start because if you try to read a lot of books and everything, it's not going to be nice, and you can make it worse. So I think hands-on, it's a good way to start. But then not just to stay on the hands-on, try to see what are the important things that are required for you to get hired. And I think the important things for you to get hired, it's as well have structures and data structures, have like big annotations, have like a little bit of a knowledge about design patterns, how to do a good designs. Because in the first part, if you just learn like how to do hello world and everything, and you don't learn the fundamentals, you might just be doing just one type of website or one type of thing, and then you don't get hired into different stuff. So you're not becoming like you are just stopping yourself to grow.
Yeah, so it's like stopping yourself from being like a complete software engineer.
Exactly.
Talk to me about how like how have you noticed the importance of like communication and like so these like what people call like soft skills, communicating, writing documents, like all the stuff that's like outside of your like your actual coding work, management, like just talking to people in general. I guess one advice you had for people in Mexico was to learn English because it opens a lot of opportunity. But for people at large, like what are some of the things you've noticed working at Oracle and Microsoft? Like communications, how do you talk to, do you talk differently to some people, talk differently to others? Like these small things that help you be successful.
um First, uh, we I have a good, really good manager that she did something that it's called team agreement. And in that part, you don't you don't because my culture is different from the people that I work with, right? So I was really concerned that I just said I wanted to say hello to everybody, and they were really busy and they didn't say hello back to me, and I was like, they didn't like me. I was thinking that they didn't like me, and it's not. It's just that they are really busy and they have like how they were taught is that they have to work and then they have sometimes to play, and for me it's like missing. So that's one of the things. And when you just try to see the people through different cultures, through different backgrounds and everything, you don't take some things personal, and as well you are going to be able to communicate to the person better, right? So it's not that bad if you ask, hey, can I get you for 5 minutes, or oh, hey, can I get you for 5 minutes just to talk and chit chat about everything because I just want to chit chat with someone. Just ask if it's okay, and don't be afraid. People normally are really kind and they will let you know what they want from you, and it's okay if they just want from you like to just get something on work and then spend some time other time like chatting or something like that. So I think communication is really good, and you just have to have that space to say people, hey, how can I approach to you better? And I think that's a good thing for anybody, no matter where culture are coming from.
Mhm. No, that's really a key. Is like keeping these small things in mind and like how you like some people like to be interact with and so on. I think that's super
Yeah.
key. Okay, I guess let's switch boots a little bit. Let's switch gears. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff that's trending now. Everywhere you open a web page, it says AI. Like every second word is AI, basically. Like every company conference, like a video you watch is like AI, AI, AI. What are your thoughts on AI? There's people that think AI will replace programmers. What do you think about that?
No, of course not. Okay, what I know, it's like, take an example, ChatGPT. Um, ChatGPT can give you what it does is that gives you like something about that they have like a really big database about, and what it does is predicts the next word that you are going to ask for, and then it goes and looks for answers on how to get the best words for you, right? But all of that information, it comes from humans. Like it exists because we exist as humans, right? So think about that database was made from us. And as well, if you, I have to tell you this. I just learned from a podcast that some podcast. I don't remember which was the podcast, but I just learned from a podcast that at the beginning ChatGPT wasn't that really good as it is. Actually, at some point, it was making people to feel really bad about themselves just because the database was not curated correctly. So at some point, ChatGPT, if you started talking to him, like to the bot or everything, some point ChatGPT was like losing it, like really, really losing it, and saying a really, really bad stuff. So we need people to curate that. We need people to edit that, and as well, we need people to have that information. And AI, it's a lot of like, it's a lot of maths, a lot of programming, if statements. I have to say that as well. And yeah, I don't think it's going to replace programmers. Maybe it's going to be replaced by, it's going to replace some stuff, some careers, but not all of them. We are going to need a lot of people that get into AI, into tech companies, into IT. So yeah, and we still need doctors. We still need a lot of people. So yeah, that's all my thoughts.
I see, yeah. And then how do you notice like these tools that are now being popular, like Copilot, like these code completion tools that people have?
Yeah.
Like I use GPT for like all like small stuff, basically as much as I can.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that in your work, if that's something that you like has enhanced your productivity, or like some of the people that you work with, have you seen like them like adopting these new tools?
Yeah, well, it's starting slowly. I think the most excited people about that, it's us and the content creators and people that it's like new. But like if you ask to your parents, they don't know what ChatGPT is. And if you ask to someone else, they don't know what ChatGPT is. I think it's slow and it's growing. And yeah, it helps a lot with the productivity. Like I said, in a question that you asked me before, you asked me about what are the soft skills that are helping me the most, and one of them is not. It's my ability to write stuff with through ChatGPT, because I always ask if I am not so sure, because English is not my native language. So sometimes I can be saying something like this really off. So I always try like to put some things there, like okay, or when I am writing something to my boss, I am just putting like some stuff there, not not private as well, but I just like some stuff, like give me some hints on how I can rephrase this properly for my manager, for upper management, or how can I rephrase this better if I want to do some invitation for a big crowd of people. So that's a really good stuff. And I think now for people that want to do like some design or something like that, there's nowadays there's really good stuff where they can produce like some images. So you don't have to wait for a render anymore. You can just ask like, hey, I want a really nice beach with snow, because I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think my use it as well, like especially things like Stack Overflow. I don't even remember the last time I opened Stack Overflow. It's all been GPT from now on. As well as like just with the regular Google searches as well, I've noticed like my Google usage has been way low after GPT came out. Because now instead of like searching for an answer, like I could just ask GPT a question and it would give me the answer instead of like
Yeah, yeah.
giving all the links to like now look for the answer. So that's definitely I'm adopting in my life as well. Like it's GPT is now starting to be a big part.
Yeah, I haven't tried, but I will try it as well for like some stuff, like instead of going to Stack Overflow, I will go to
Yeah,
ChatGPT. Hey, give me the answer for this.
yeah. Well, that's what I've been trying. So it works. okay. I mean, it's not, sometimes you get confused, but it's good. Sometimes I've noticed that I spend more time debugging GPT code than like actually it helping. But it's the best we have. Um,
Yeah.
I use a
Well,
free version of GPT, by the way, not GPT-4. So maybe 4 is better. I don't know.
no, that's okay. As long as we get used to it, I think it's good. And one thing that I have to say is people think that when we do something at work, it's like we are writing a lot of code and everything. And this is something that I don't know if you're if the people that look at this video, it's gonna think. But sometimes we have like this idea that if you are a software engineer, you're starting to write in a lot of code and changing and everything. And so no, like soon you are getting like Facebook app new, or you are just creating a new software, a new Windows or something like that, right? And it's not. We're spending a lot of time debugging our code.
Yeah,
And we get so excited when we find like another issue. It's like, yay, just passed the first issue.
yeah, yeah. I think most of software engineering is just taking old code and then either making it better or like taking code from other places, is munching it up together. Like I yeah, and it's like the other part of it is like just the communication with people. That's a big part. That's something that I didn't really expect. Like when I got into Microsoft, that was my first ever like actual like big team job that I've done. And a big part of that was communication, like just talking to people, writing documents, sending it here, sending it there. I didn't anticipate that. So that's a pretty big element there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that some of other stuff that you need to know, and I was talking this with I was talking about this with my boyfriend. It's that some of the times we don't know that sometimes when you do your work, part of your work is to say, I am working on it. And people don't are used to get so much status of their work until you get into the daily stand-up and you say like, hey, I'm still working on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a meme I wanted to recreate as well, which is like there's a software engineer going into stand up and then they say, okay, I'm working today on what I was supposed to do yesterday, and I'll do tomorrow what I was supposed to do today, or stuff like that. But yeah, but that's the reality of software engineering. So people watching, like it's not all 100% code. There's all like other elements to it as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like it's getting to it, there's a lot of people that thinks that because we are software engineers, we're not used to talk to many people. And yeah, we have to be really good at talking because we have to document stuff for people and let them know how to use stuff, because maybe we don't get a really good communication. We had a lot of issues with users and issues with your manager, issues with your customers. So yeah, you have, if you want to be a really good engineer at some point, you need to get really good at communication as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Talk to me about work-life balance. Like, so people, a lot of people now want to have a career in tech. I think computer science is like one of the most famous majors now in university, something that people study, as well
Yeah.
as like even on my like some of my videos, I get a lot of questions or like LinkedIn DM or LinkedIn messages and Instagram DMs. Like, how do we get a tech job? How do we get a tech job? Talk to me about like what this career is like. So you have like your job. What's the work-life balance like? Like how satisfied are you with like a career in tech? And yeah, just talk to me about that experience.
Well, I think for me it's uh I wanted this since I was 6 years old. So I really, really enjoy to be here and to get that adrenaline when you fix something and you get to the point that something wasn't working and you just fix it at 3 in the morning. It's like, yay! I'm a genius. Even if you just added an if and something like that. It's like, yeah, I'm a genius. But yeah, I think you need to have some work balance and you have to let your brain as good as it gets, the good thing about big techs is that they take a lot of investment for people. It's not like you are just coming to work and you just have like there's I have to tell you, there was something happening when I was working at Oracle. We get free juice, right? And now that I'm working from home, I don't have free juice. I have another stuff, but I don't have free juice or breakfast or something like that. And I was seeing people complaining about it. Like, oh, it's not the type of juice that I like. And I was like, they don't have to give you juice. It's something that they're giving to you just because they want you to be good and they don't want you to worry about what are you going to have for breakfast. And I think that it's one of the goodest things that has this IT company and these big tech companies, that they take a lot of care about you, about your security, about how you feel. And I think it's important. It's important to feel you safe and to feel that you know, because sometimes it's just like getting your brain to do stuff. And you cannot do your brain to do stuff if you are not feeling good. So it's important. And I think as long as you can get like some exercise and as long as you can, some part is on the company and the other part is on you. You know, you have to know when to stop work and when to go for an exercise and how to have good habits as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the appeal of big tech companies is like why they're also like really good employers is because one, like compared to other like your average salary is also higher relative to like other majors. They have all sorts of benefits and stuff. So it's a really popular option amongst like a lot of students and stuff to make a career in tech. And so using that, what do you think is the best way for people to think about like people who just graduated or students currently in university or even in high school? What is the best way for them to maximize their chances of getting a job? Because one of the things that I hear often from some of the people that I talk to or that have questions of getting into the tech world is like they apply for like 100 positions, but like never hear back from recruiters or anyone. So like, what is the best way to like maximize that to like really put yourself out there? Because one of the things that happened now, especially after pandemic or during like this pandemic phase, since everything went online, is like people are now accustomed to learning stuff online, and with the internet, learning about coding, programming, any programming language, anything, it's all out there. So it makes it really easy for people to learn. That means there's like so many more people now, so it's really competitive because now instead of competing against like university graduates, you're now competing against like people who don't even go to university but like have been doing stuff online. So like it's extremely competitive now. So what do you think are the best ways to put yourself in the best spot possible?
Well, one of the first, how I got hired by Oracle as well, and I got them to look at me. It's because I updated a lot of my LinkedIn outside of my other people. Like people in the school were like, just I just graduated from school, just hire me, I deserve a job. And I was like, no, I didn't took that for granted. So what I did is that I did a certificate on Java, and that's how Oracle look at me. And just do first, that was one of the things. And I did some networking, do a lot of networking, because if you do networking you get like sites from people, and that's the first thing. I applied for Google like a tons of times, like really. I cannot tell you how many times I applied for Google, until I was afraid that there was going to be like some email coming to my email like, just stop applying to this, we don't like you. Until I just met someone uh, in Oracle. He was a VP, and I just started just talking to him because we were called like almost like the same. And I started talking to them, and then there is a place where he said like, "Do you know someone in Google?" and I put his name. He was a VP, I had to say. They just replied back to me. Like, hey, do you want to come to for an interview? And I was like, yes. And that gets to know you. That gets to people to know you. But as well, you can do like, besides of a school, do some certifications and do some certifications on different stuff, do some degrees on other stuff, and you can get that certifications not only from school, you can get them from I don't know, Udacity, name next you, or name whatever you want. And as well, you can work on lead code, and in lead code there's like a bunch of buttons there where you can like publish how many problems you have solved, and that gives a look for people to know how to reach out to you. And as well, look at there where is like how is the um how is the best way to create your resume, how is the best way to create your, and that's not just for this career, it's for every career. Take a look about the people, about what they are asking. Do your homework. If you are applying for Google, well, what kind of job do you want to land on Google? What kind of skills they are asking for? And what skills do you have? And they nowadays, like you said, you can learn a lot in the internet. You don't have to be, you don't have to have a degree. You can learn a lot of this stuff in the internet. Of course, that have a degree gives you like extra points, but it's not all. You need to learn, do your stuff.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah. So like optimizing your LinkedIn, doing certifications and all the stuff. Yeah, lead code. Yeah, lead code. I haven't. Yeah, the only time honestly you use lead code is for like interview prep, and that's it. But
yeah, that's it.
My main way of like something I put on this channel as well is like just do like a lot of projects and like just create like a, I don't know, like a simple website or online portfolio, and then just document learning as well. Yeah, so
yeah, that's good. Yeah, of course. If you have it in your LinkedIn, think about this. I'm a recruiter. What resume is going to be more appealing for me? A person that says that just graduated, or a person that says that he graduated and he did a bunch of stuff, a bunch of websites and a bunch of like apps or something like that? Of course that I'm going to call the person that has a lot of apps.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Okay, well, I want to transition into outside the tech world. We can leave tech aside, put it aside. Talking about like your personal hobbies and stuff that you do like outside of work. I know you're a big Bollywood fan as well.
Yeah.
How do you manage, like, so you have your work ongoing and like your personal commitments, your hobbies? How do you balance the two? Like, what's the framework that you've like adopted in your life?
Well, I don't have a framework. I have to say that I wish that I have one. But it depends on how do I feel on that part. I try to do a lot of exercise. I try to go to the gym, and as well I try to chat a lot and do a lot of investigation and a lot of podcasts and everything, because I like to learn a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'm a Bollywood fan. I'm a fan of Shah Rukh Khan. And that's a weird thing because there's like not many people that like knows a lot of Shah Rukh Khan. I am a big fan of Masters of the Universe, that you can see right here. I have, well, I don't know if like you can see it, but I have like a lot of figures, and I'm a big fan of Nintendo, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that you get to into as well. I am a big fan of F1.
Same here.
F1, yay! We have Checo Perez is from where I live, so yay! I'm going
And
for
plus,
Checo.
you also have a reason because Red Bull's main sponsor is Oracle. So
yeah, as well, the Red Bull's main sponsor is Oracle. Yeah, what else do I do? I think I have a lot of hobbies. And I think, yeah, because I get bored really easy about a lot of the stuff, except for IT, but I get bored a lot of stuff. So I do a lot of writing, do a lot of drawing, and these days I have been looking for cooking.
Yeah.
And I think just not to get bored, because uh, I think one of the best things that you can do with your life is just like to uh, do a bunch of stuff and don't say like, oh, I wish I could try that. It's like, no, let's go for it.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, my personal interests are like just I just listen to podcasts basically all day. Like some audiobooks. I got into like a while back, a couple months ago, a lot of like crime related podcasts for some reason. So like they would talk you about one thing that me and my sister do is we like basically every day we listen to, there's a YouTube channel called like Mr. Nightmare, and
Okay.
he's the most famous storyteller on YouTube. Like he just narrates like scary stories, and that's it. So we like I just listen to that every day, like crime related stories and um I don't know, serial killer stories and stuff like that. I don't know. But yeah.
I have to ask, are you able to sleep?
Yeah, well, there was I remember this happened last week actually. There was a story we listened to, and for
Yeah,
some reason I just couldn't follow. It was about like paranormal activity, which is like ghosts and stuff
yeah.
happening. And then for some reason I just couldn't sleep that night. So like I don't know, it was I don't know, I just couldn't sleep. And my room was dark, and every single second my like brain kept imagining that I'm like seeing stuff, like the shadow there and stuff. So yeah. It's been happened just once or twice, but usually I can sleep well, so that's not an issue.
That's okay. That's okay. That's really good. I really like to listen to stories, not horror stories because I'm not able to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like to hear a lot of stories. I like to learn and think about this. We just started talking about a lot of stuff, and it gets really, you get a really, really interesting person, and I get to know a lot of interest people along the way that I do a lot of stuff.
Definitely,
So
man. Yeah, getting to know people, like building actual human connection, like that's the most important thing.
yeah, sure. And I have a question about for you. So,
For sure.
do you have like a favorite, like right now, favorite story about these ones that are paranormal or something like that? That is like horror stories,
Favorite
or
let's
one that scares you the most?
well I'll tell you too. So there was the in terms of like fictional-ish stories, like
Yeah.
movies and stuff, horror movies. Like I love watching horror movies, but it's so hard finding a good horror movie with like good jump scares. Like it's I don't know. Me and my sister, we watched basically all horror movies, but there's like only a couple that actually scare you. The one best one that I watched by far was Smile. I'm not sure if you've
Uh,
seen it. That came out
I
I think
haven't.
last year in the summer. But that one had many jump scares. So Smile was one, and in terms of yeah, I think Smile was probably in terms of a movie, a horror
Yeah.
movie, that was probably number one. And then other than that, like I just listened to a lot of pretty like random Mr. Nightmare stories, like school lockdown stories, like three basement horror stories, three like unsolved mysteries and stuff like that. So yeah, he has a lot of three like Walmart horror stories. So there's like Walmart employees working like at night, like in a remote village or town, and then they share their stories of like someone following them, or like or like Instagram stories. Someone like I remember this one. I We were listening to this yesterday with my sister. There were these two girls who went into a bar,
Yeah.
and one of the girls started getting an Instagram DM from a random account, like a newly created account, and that message said, "Oh, are you in this bar? I love this bar." And then the girl was like super confused, and like they just started chatting, um, and she and her friend got really scared, so they went to another place, and then the message still said, "Oh, you moved to this place. I also like this." So like these type of stories, like so. Yeah.
What?
That's what I'm doing these days. So
Okay, I have a question. That is one of the scariest thing that can happen to you with something related with IT. What are things that you can think of? Something related with IT or technology or
IT
something?
or sorry, ID or IT, like technology?
IT and
Oh, I see.
technology, like
Mhm.
technology. What do you think that it could be like the most scary thing that can happen with technology?
Lots. By technology, do you mean like with apps and stuff like Instagram and this type of stuff?
Yeah, yeah, or maybe AI or something like that. What do you think that can be the most scariest thing that can happen?
Scariest. Well, I would say it would probably be something related to your location. I think that's number one in my
Yeah.
side. If for some reason, or like, I mean, obviously in Snapchat, you can like show your live location. They have a snap map, but that's only for your friends. Like only friends can see where you are. I think location is probably the most scariest. If like you receive a random message with your
Yeah.
address, I think that's pretty scary. Um,
Yeah.
location, anything to do with stuff that only you know or only like close people know. So like me
Oh.
and my sister listen to the stories. It's like you randomly get a message, like in the stories, not me. You randomly get a message with like some like secret that like only you or like someone knows, but like someone random um just like
No,
do
some.
that. Yeah. Stuff like that. Yeah, I think location would probably be the scariest. Like if someone knew where you lived or your activities, where you go.
Yeah,
Like, I
I
don't know.
think
Like
I
so
could
if someone
relate.
messaged me, "Oh, do you go to the gym? This gym?" And like, I'd be really scared. So
Maybe we could be someone that likes you and loves you and wants to be with you. But yeah, it would be really, really scary.
yeah, I think anything to do with location is super scary. And then we also listen to these dark web stories
Yeah.
where these guys so like they go on the dark web, like this onion router thing. Have you heard of that before? Like
No,
the
no.
no, no. I'm not also not sure how this works, but my brother's friend, they've done this. So like, um, I need to learn more about this as well. But it's basically like every website has a version on the dark web, and you use
Yeah.
something called like the onion router or something. So like instead of google.com, you would type in like google.onion or something like that, like onion, like the actual like ONIOUN. Some, and then
Okay.
you can access like a lot of different sites because now you're using a different this different
Oh,
route, like this dark web routing. And so a lot of these guys, like they have these online chats, like online video calls where people are like live streaming and then you can see it. So one story we listened to was there was a guy, he starts painting, and then
mhm.
as you're watching them, he can also watch you from your camera, but you don't know that. Like you're just watching him. So yeah, so stuff like that. Like I've gotten into that. I think that would be scary as well. Like anything to do with location, with like photos, your camera. So
Privacy. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I have to say something about I don't know, but there was this guy that it was punished in Reddit for something. I don't remember what, but it was like he said something, right? Like I don't like potatoes or something like that, right? And there was like a lot of people coming like, I like potatoes. And they were like, well, I don't like them. And they were like, I like potatoes and I'm gonna kill you. And there's a lot of people that decided like there was these people that decided like that like crazy people and that decided to put his face on the web and they decided to like just start sending messages for him that they were going to kill him because he doesn't like potatoes or something like that. But it didn't finish on that. What had happened is that people started looking at his story and end up finding where he lives, what does he does, and they will start threatening them like, hey, do you do this, and I know that you are going to be here and I know where you're going to do that. And that was a real story. What this guy, it's that he ended up like closing all the all the social and then like moving apart, changing his name and something like that. And it's like really scary. Like you said, it's something really scary what had happened to you. And it was just a red story. Like,
mhm.
what?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
all sorts of weird stuff that happens. But
yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. There's something about. like horror stuff. Horror. There's two like horror parts. There's like the scary, like the ghost. You see something weird, some like face upside down, like stuff like that. And then there's like the other part that's like real life, but it feels scary, which is like someone knowing your location, or someone sending you like one of some of the stories we listened to was like someone sends you a photo like from your window looking at you. So like
Mhm.
it's a photo like outside your house, stuff like that. You just get a photo from a random number. So
Oh my God, I will be moving. Like, I don't want to live here.
yeah, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's something about that. It just I don't know. It feels wrong, but I don't know. I just still me and my sister we listen to these stories. So.
Well, at least you can take care about that. Like, hey, one thing that happened to me, it's like that I got some bulgar coming into my house, and he just I wasn't in my house, so he just like take off like the stove, and you can imagine how he take a stove from a house and just run away with it. Then I decided that I started like thinking about like if I was like wanting to like teach something or something like that, and then I protect myself. So now that you know a lot of the stories, you know how to protect yourself,
Mhm.
and when you are not going to do that dumb thing that all the people in all the horror movies does, is that you come into a dark place where it's like really you maybe there's a killer, and what they do is like hello. It's like why you say
Yeah,
hello to them?
yeah. That always happens. Like all the stories we watch is like dark room. They either well, the first one in movies is like someone's chasing them and they always fall for some reason. Like they always fall. That's number one. And then the second thing is like in a dark room, they hear a noise and they go towards the noise and like
Exactly,
investigate.
why you go there? You have to run away.
Yeah.
And then there's another thing that happens on all the horror stories as well, well at least where there is a girl that always tries to run away on heels. Why they want to run away on heels?
Yeah.
Just tickle them.
Yeah. And then they always have to fall like somewhere in the running. They have to
Yeah.
fall and then they look back and then they start running again.
Exactly. Why are you looking back? Just keep running.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that's been my interest so far. Like probably my hobbies these days is like just listening to a lot of stories. Um do you do so you mentioned you listen to podcasts. Do you do that like English podcasts or is it like just local Mexican Spanish podcasts and stuff?
Well, I listened two of them, one in Spanish and one the other one in English. Actually, the first one is Science Versus from Spotify, and the other one is in Spanish, which is a podcast for like old ladies, but I like them. It's a girl called Marta de Baile, and she's from Mexico, and she does a lot of stuff. It's really nice to hear about her. And as well, I listen a little bit about finance because I want to get rich at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, the podcast that I listen to is like Andrew Huberman, which is like a health fitness podcast. Uh,
Oh, that's really nice.
some
I,
clip of like some other there's podcast by Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan. Like just clips. I don't I've never listened to a full podcast, but just like clips, like online YouTube clips of
I
podcast. So,
have to ask you, is Andrew Huberman this guy that was doing some experiments with eyes that you can reconstruct your eye nerve? Like
I
just
don't know about that, but I know he is I think he does specialize in eye stuff. But I don't know
yeah,
about the reconstruction part. So
yeah, I think like you know when there's like these kind of animals that I don't remember the name, but that you chop their like tail, it grows again. I don't know what's the name
like a
of that.
lizard, I think, no?
Yeah, the lizard, exactly. So he was started like thinking how that can like reuse and something like that, and seems like I don't remember, but I just listened about like a little bit about that um in Science Versus as well, that there's like some codification that maybe you can do with your brain that you can actually regrow some parts of your body. And it was so like I don't know if that's possible, but if it could be possible, I was like, that's the pray for all my fears, because one of my biggest fears is like to lose one part of my body. But if that is going to be possible, imagine that you can just regrow a finger. It's like, hey, I don't have to be careful with tools again.
But it was still hurt though. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think health related podcasts, that's something I'm big into as well, but mainly just a lot of like clips,
Mm-hmm.
mystery horror podcasts, like where they narrate stories, where they'll tell you stories. Um, and some other that I listen to are like philosophy based podcasts. They're not really podcasts, but like interviews with people. So like you have
Okay.
this like philosopher talking to a random person, like stuff like
Oh,
that. So yeah, so those are my interests right now.
oh, that's good. That's good.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, I guess we can end it up there. I know, I mean, thank you so much for doing this. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I
Right.
really appreciate you chatting. I guess we'll end up with this is like just any general advice that you have for like just people in general. Like you can think about, I don't know, think about like high school or college students. Like any advice, nothing related to software engineering or computers or tech, but just like how they can live like a fulfilling life. Like what are some of the things that they need to focus on? Like stuff like don't focus too much on work, like also like have hobbies or like any advice that you have.
I think right now with the pandemic, we realize how important it's our mental health. And I think you have to take care about it. Even if you, however you want it. But be part of that. Be take care of your mental health before everything, and put a lot of effort on that. A lot of effort on grow yourselves, and yeah, not just think about, oh, this is the kind of brain that I have and this is the light that I have to deal with. It's like, how can I make it better? Just think about it. It can be different for everybody, but for anybody, but just think about it and how you can do it.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, that's a really nice way to end it off, a really good note. Thank you so much, Paula, again. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for doing this. And hopefully we can do maybe a part two as well as this goes on.
Okay, okay, sure, sure. I'd love
Good.
to.